So I will start my speech in three, two, one. So panels believe that the main idea of tourism is to attract people into their country by showing or highlighting certain aspect, and the main focus of it is to bring the utmost profit into the country's economy, and also bringing people into advancement, and also economic growth. Panels. Let's do framing. Firstly, panels, the burden of proof. Panels, this is a policy debate. So, therefore, we should think about the best policy for all of the actors in this debate. Therefore, the burden of proof is bringing the utmost profit in the country, a country's economy as a whole. But panels, remember that the cultural aspect is not our burden of proof. Therefore, we do not focus on it. So, but then, where do we? Where is this debate happens? Panels, we believe that this debate happens in a country in Asia as a whole. Therefore, the opposition cannot focus on a country which mainly focus on culture. And even so, if so, panels, we believe that preserving cultural aspect of a country rather than having technological advancement is inherently flawed. People weren't progressing. People who work in tourism won't be doing education and only focus on their job. Most of the youth who work on tourism, or most of the youth in Indonesia, or in Bali, for example, those most of them were only graduated from high school and not progressing to college for example. They only focus on doing on having jobs and achieving money for themselves, but they do not focus on their own education, and therefore people weren't progressive and people were only being stagnant. So panels realized that the status quo is flawed. Tourism profit didn't really help much for the people, or only certain people. Therefore, developing country won't become developed if the status quo were kept like this. Panels, take a look at Singaporeans. Although they're small countries, they managed to almost become a developed country, and also becoming the most developed country in the whole Asian. Panels, take a look at Myanmar, in which is the first of economic crisis. Their tourism mainly focus on culture, for example. But that's why, and that's the reason they were stagnant. That's the reason they were in the verge of crisis. That's the reason why they were prone to massive economic problem. Not only Myanmar, take a look at Indonesia, which also has the same problem. These two examples were using culture as their main selling point. They have massive problem in education and also problem in economic growth. So, but then, when is this debate happens? Panels, this debate happen when culture and tradition is massively monetized. By being monetized mean exploited. Not only that, it was also being altered and also misused to be able for the people to gain profit. Although the profit will make the culture aspect will preserve, we believe that altering and destruction will still happen under the opposition side, and we believe that the process of preserving it will be meaningless, and it won't profit the people as much as you thought it would be. So panels, we believe that preserving tradition and culture isn't our burden of proof. Regarding it doesn't really help the people either way. Not only that, people could still run tourism aspect with their culture as main selling point, but not being the main focus of the country. Not only that, panels, we are now living in times where conflict and hardship will come, and that's why we believe that we have to be prepared. Panels, take a look at Indonesia. They were given like 90% of tariffs, while America government have access on accessing some materials, or even some things that Indonesia have, and that is really bad for our future. And if we are not progressive, we are not being progressive, we are going to be really prone to having massive economical problem. So let's characterize this a bit, panels. People in Asian is mostly stagnant. They weren't trying to achieve more and tends to only be fine with what they have. Why is this bad? This means that people were proposing poverty and inequality. Taxes profit won't help people in need, and you are making the country prone to economic crisis. Take a look at Indonesia when the monetary crisis happens. They received the most backlash, and therefore they were really cannot progress in 1 or even 5 years to come. So panels realize that culture heavily rely on monetary value. Not only that, pandemic and also other problems similar to it won't be will be a really big deal for the country. So panels take a look at Indonesia in their 1980s. Their cultural aspect were stopped. Tourism that depends on it also fails, and not making the country progressive mean that you are making your country prone to this problem. So let's moving on to my argument. So there's two points of argument in which the first one is we are proposing progress into into Asian country as a whole. So panels, we believe that every country in Asia has the potential to be able to achieve greatness. We believe that focusing more on technological advancement, especially in medical tourism, education, and also economy, will be having massive advancement. So, but how is that even possible? So firstly, people will try and focus on advancing medical and beauty technology. Therefore, technological advancement will be really significant under our side, and therefore education will be more needed than ever. Education needed to make people educated and therefore able to work on technological area. So people were smarter and also being more progressive. Businesses and economic advancement will be able to be achieved under our side, which could serve as solution towards most of the economical problem Asian country faces, like the poverty, massive poverty problem or infrastructure problem, and also many more. This matter because we were proposing a universal progression, not only progression into certain aspect or people. We believe that without poverty could be lessened, people could achieve better with being more educated and also having a larger profit. So why is this origin? Panels threat from the west are emerging, tariffs with sky high, and also a lot of war were happening. Therefore we were really prone to having economical crisis, and if we do not act now, we will not be able to achieve what we truly want for our people. So secondly, we don't want our culture to be preserved in order to hinder people progression. Asian country mainly faces economics problem, most of them either being prone to economic crisis or just being stagnant. That means you're proposing poverty to most of the citizens. Most of the Asian is also prone to having crisis when there's a monetary problem. But also remember at 1980s, most of the country in Asian was having significant problem dealing with it, and Indonesia is the one who received the most backlash. But how do we solve this? So panels, people will try to achieve technological advancement. Therefore, people will not rely on developed country or other country either, or and only focus on themselves. So people weren't going to be stagnant, and therefore they were going to be. So therefore people need to be progressive to survive, and therefore people were going to be bound by the old ways but rather being progressive. So that's the rest of my case. Thank you.